Welcome to our winter edition for our wine club. In your package, when you receive it, you will find a brochure in it. And when the time comes and with your friend, you decide to open one of these bottles, please click on that QR code and join me for a tasting. This is our Estate Chardonnay Musqué 2021, and we are really happy about this wine. This is the first time ever we released this wine as a single varietal, and we did about 50 cases this year, and we're thrilled about the quality of that wine. So let me tell you a little bit of our Chard Musqué. So this is planted on our own farm. So when I say estate wine, these wines are produced on site at Adamo Estate Winery, made on site and bottled on site. So this is coming from our own vines. And Chardonnay Musqué is probably the same profile as Chardonnay, but it's much more floral, a lot more fragrance on the bouquet. So we aged that wine for 8 months in oak, French oak only, but no new oak, only like old barrels. This is to add texture and a little bit more color. Usually the Chardonnay Musqué is a little bit less golden, and you can see that in the glass. It's a little bit more on the silver notes, where the Chardonnay is more on the golden hues, let's say. So you'll find mandarin peel on the nose. This is very elegant. Sometimes Chardonnay Musqué can be very pungent, but this is well integrated. And I think because we used a little bit of oak and let it a little bit settle and age a little bit longer than I'd say most common practices. So you also have the nutty characteristic, you also have the fresh peach. Apricot is definitely there. And in the mouth, it's usually a little bit more acid-driven than the Chardonnay. So for that wine, we don't do the malolactic fermentation, which is the second fermentation that happens in the red wines and in some of the white wines, such as Chardonnay. And this is just allows the wine to keep the freshness and also the aromatics, those beautiful fragrance that you have. This is why we don't do it. So it's probably like a dry style wine that would pair perfectly with some charcuterie board or cheese platter, or if you're looking to pair it with some food, then you can do it with fish, but then you would like to have like something creamy on the side, like mashed potatoes, or use a cream base for your fish, for example. Okay, this is our legacy Malbrusco Petnat 2021. So the idea of Malbrusco came from the Adamo family, from their background, from the Italian background. So it's a contraction of Malbec and Lambrusco. Basically, Lambrusco is a very popular, typical red sparkling wine in Italy. So they wanted to have the similar things, but do it in their own way. So they decided to put it in the Legacy series, which is of our very minimal intervention category of the wines. And let me tell you a little bit about Petnat. Petnat means pétillant naturel. So it means that basically this is the most ancestral way to make sparkling wine. This is like, we're talking about 17th century, like way back. And basically they didn't know how to make wine back in the days, and basically because of the very cold summer, the fermentation would stop, and they would say, oh, okay, the wine is ready, we're going to put it into bottle. But then what happened in the spring, when the temperature rise, the fermentation restarted in the bottles, and then the wine were sparkly. So nowadays, Petnat are back in the front of the scene of the winemaking industry, and they are very trendy because of their natural way of how they are made. So because we bottled them and they finish the fermentation inside the bottle, you'll observe usually there is a sediment inside the bottle, which is total normal. It's just dead yeast. But that might cause the bottle, when you open it, to fizz a little bit and overflow. So just when you open that, it's very red and it can taint your couch, so probably open it in your kitchen. This bottle is completely fine. They're usually fine, but there is always a risk. So, and then because it's a red wine, you can choose either or to chill it or not. I recommend that you put it in the fridge at least 30 minutes before you drink it, because it's always nice when bubbles are a little bit cold. Because it's a red wine, I wouldn't recommend to drink it as cold as a, for example, traditional sparkling method or a white sparkling wine. So you can see it's very dark. The Malbec that we use for that particular wine has a lot of color in the skin. And it's very floral. You can smell violets, red plum, ripe cherries, ripe strawberries. It's very nice. It's a very nice Christmas wine because it's red wine, but it's also sparkling, so you can sit near the fireplace and enjoy that wine without any food, and it's totally fine. Or if you want to pair it, I actually opened myself a bottle like that, and I had it with a beef roast and potatoes, and it was fantastic. Everyone loved it. It's delicious. It's juicy. It's very light. You almost barely feel the tannins. It's drinking really well. Yeah, it's a beautiful wine to have on its own. This is our Legacy Roussanne Viognier Marsanne 2019. So this is always a name that is tricky to pronounce because it's 3 varietals, and the first one starts with an R, which I know it's tricky. But those are 3 varietals from south of France, originally planted there, that you can find mostly in the appellation Côte du Rhône. That's where they're originally from. We're lucky to have these in Niagara, and this blend is usually very nice, very floral, and the Viognier is one of the less acid white wine grapes that you can find. So let me give you a tip. When you find a bottle that is waxed at the top, you don't have to worry about using the knife on the corkscrew. You just go directly through it, and that's the easiest way and the cleanest way to open a bottle with the wax. Because the wax, you see, just breaks right there, and then that saves you the hassle, and it's also safer. A lot of people cut themselves trying to open a bottle with wax, so that's a little bit of a health and safety tip here. So this is in our Legacy series. So our Legacy series are very hands-off in terms of winemaking. So these grapes didn't receive any yeast or any winemaking product addition during the process. So this has been wild fermented. When I say wild fermented, it means that we didn't add selected yeast in our process to do the fermentation. The fermentation happens constantly. We do age this wine in oak, and it's beautiful. It is open on like some vanilla aroma, very fresh and ripe pear, like Niagara peach, like a juicy ripe in the summer. It's beautiful. Very well balanced, elegant. So this is a white wine that is like considered as full body. So if you look in the glass, when you taste the wines, a lot of people ask me, oh, what about the legs? So the legs are an indication on the alcohol level, the sugar level, and also what we call the glycerol level. So the slower and the bigger they get, and down the glass, usually like the more full-bodied the white wine is. So because of that soft acidity, the best way to pair this wine for me is like when you do like a fish in the oven. with like a little bit of the vegetables. When you wrap your fish in the foil and then you put the vegetable, put it in the oven, that's a perfect example to pair with. This is our Lep Riesling 2019. Lep Vineyard is situated on Niagara on the lake, and we've been working with that vineyard since years now, and we're very happy about all the grapes we grabbed from them. They're great people, and we are usually very happy about that Riesling. So for the Riesling, most likely, like other white wines, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how the process and how we make white wines. So when the grapes arrive at the winery, we put them in our bag press, and then we have a program that increment the pressure inside that press to extract the juice from the berries. Then we settle the juice in a tank, and then we ferment that juice. So this is basically the big steps of how we make white wine. About the profile of that wine, you can see the green hues, it's still very fresh, very typical of Riesling. You get that rubber notes on the nose with lime, very citrusy, very zesty, I would say. Definitely some mandarin peel too, some minerality as well. This is a complex wine. It's drinking beautifully right now. In the mouth, this is probably on the drier side. It's called off-dry. So it means that you can feel the acidity, but it's not, you don't have the feeling that it's a super dry wine. So that's why it's meant to, when you read somewhere in comments, sometimes you can feel, or someone will tell you in the shop, this wine is off-dry. It means like there is a little bit of sugar, of sweetness to balance the acidity, but you can still feel the acidity. So if you're looking for sweet Riesling, then you want to ask for sweet Riesling. If you want dry, you ask dry. Off-dry is basically in the middle. So looking at pairing that wine, it would be very, very nice with some blue cheese and like fig crackers, for example. I would also see that with any oysters or seafood platters. If you're looking for pairing it with a meat, I would advise something like a white meat. So either chicken, roast chicken or roast pork, but something with like a creamy sauce to balance that acidity as well. So this is our Pinot Noir 2017 from the Lowry Vineyard in Niagara. So let me tell you a little bit about the Lowry Vineyard. This vineyard was, if the story I've heard is true, was planted before Canada was even Canada. So before Canada was even a country. So we're lucky to have grapes from this vineyard, and we've been working with these people since the beginning of Adamo. And this is the vintage 2017. We're really happy about that wine. It's drinking really well right now. And we're looking at the color and the aromatics. This is on the ripe red cherries. There is notes of leather. There is notes of like porcinis. You can feel the vanilla coming from the oak. So this wine's been like most of our wines, but for the Pinot Noir we use only French oak for all our wines, but this Pinot Noir is 10 months in French oak, rather than our Cabernet or more Bordeaux varietals are usually 15 to 18 months. So after 10 months of aging, we bottle them, and you can still feel the influence of the oak. It's really nice. The wine is well balanced. The acidity is still there. It's starting to fall a little bit, but there is still enough tannins and mid palate to hold the wines together, and it's drinking beautifully right now. So I would recommend that you don't cellar that wine anymore, and that you're drinking rather, within the next 6 months. There is not, we don't send that wine for you to put it in your cellar, but for drinking. And this will pair perfectly with mushroom risotto. This is my favorite pairing for Pinot Noir, so I might repeat that over time. But if you're looking for something else, definitely a roast chicken in the oven is perfect for Pinot Noir too, and especially that one. This is our Whip Red Blend 2019. I love that label. It's very funny, it's very friendly, and this is all about this wine. Is a friendly, fun wine, which is also serious. It's a blend of Pinot, Merlot, Gamay, Cabernet Franc, and Cabernet Sauvignon. So this is, to me, that wine is almost like, when you listen to music and someone does a medley for a song, or of an artist. So this is exactly what it is. It's a medley of all the different wines that we make at Adamo. And when we make that wine, when we make that blend, we are always thinking about, is this gonna be fun? Is this gonna be enjoyable? Can we enjoy that without any food? Just having a glass of wine, just open oh darling, I feel like I want a glass of red wine tonight. Yes, that's perfect, that's it, that's what we need. And this is what we make with that wine, because we also believe that wine is not always to be fancy, or it's for everyday occasion. And being French, that's how I grew up, and that's how that's just part of our culture. And I really like that we are able to make that here. On the nose, it's very elegant. I can smell the influence of the Pinot, so you have that bright red cherry. You also have the spice from the Cabernets that are showing up. It's balanced. And in the mouth, it's soft. The acidity is nicely blended with the aromas. So basically, this is also one of the nights where you're like, oh, let's put a pizza in the oven, and that would be the perfect pairing for it.